was a 25K buy-in even. Really, really strong Omaha tournament player and probably Omaha player in general.
So Darwin opening here with ace-7 of clubs. And wow, flops the flush draw, the nut flush, has a lock on this hand. And from Mike Addamo's perspective, Sam, how is he feeling about the Queen of Clubs right now? Pretty good, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's definitely going to mean that you're going to continue in the hand. Normally, Darwin going to pick a very, very small sizing on this monotone board. I mean, one thing is that Darwin doesn't open much 10 of clubs, or, you know, either he's flopped a flush or he has, if he has a club, it's better than tends to be better than the Queen of Club. And in fact, Michael going for the check raise. I mean, Darwin's basically suited so often that you get a lot of auto folds here from like Queen Jack of Hearts, Queen 10 of Hearts, King Queen of Diamonds and the like. And so that's what Michael's targeting and improving.
I mean, now he's screwed, right? You turn top pair to go with the flush draw and you're like, okay, right, now I'm good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you outdraw 10s, you outdraw jacks at this point. I think he's going to be, yeah, he's aware though that, you know, it's hard for Darwin to stack off with 9, 10 of hearts, let's say, on this turn, right? That's very, very difficult, you know, to get the money in really, really good. So Michael here.
I'm Luckbox might be an apt name here because despite this turn pretty much marrying him to this hand, no money goes in on the turn. That's obviously a lucky result against a hand that you're drawing dead against. Let's go back to the flop, though, and talk about his check raise. This is Michael Addamo, by the way, one of the best players in the world. I'm Luckbox. His opponent, Darwin, is Simon Matson, who is the 2-time Swiss or Swedish Player of the Year.
Pretty sure Swedish.
Swedish Player of the Year, yeah. So, you know, no slouch either. As the short stack, has the nuts on the flop. Cool. Betting small. Cool. What do you think about Luckbox's decision to check raise?
I think I like it. He's got the queen high flush draw here. He's got only queen high. He doesn't have anything else going on with this board besides that queen of clubs. So, I mean, it's really cheap to just check call, but we're out of position, and we're going to win a lot if we check raise here, more so than normal, because as Sam Grafton points out, very adeptly, I might add, that Darwin is really weighted towards having suited hands and strong hands, but not so many of the one club hands that he might normally have if they were deeper. So his continuing range shrinks pretty dramatically here when he gets check raised. Now, of course, in this case, he's going to continue.
He's going to continue.
Of course. But he doesn't have hands, nearly as many hands as he might normally have that have a big club in them.
Right, that can continue easily against this check raise. So, yeah, that makes the check raise pretty good. I agree with that. And then nice thought by Sam Grafton. Good job by him. What do you think about Darwin just calling the check raise with the nuts?
I think it's perfectly fine. My inclination would be to call as well. It's great to have the nuts. We're relatively short, which means it shouldn't be hard to get all in at all. If, you know, say a bet goes in on the turn, as one would expect by one of us, since we're in position, we can make sure a bet goes in. Why doesn't one? We'll get to that. And if we were deeper, I'd be more interested in a 3-bet, but I think it's really fine to just call here and give our opponent a chance to barrel off. Of course, there's problems with that too.
Yeah, well, I think a point in favor for calling is that we do have the ace of clubs in our hand, which means that Addamo doesn't have the nut flush draw, which is the type of hand that would probably have to continue if we 3-bet. So we're just worried about the continuing range, I think, and thinking that it's too thin to get any more value right now.
Right.
But like you said, we don't put any more money in on the turn. Neither does I'm Luckbox. Why doesn't I'm Luckbox just bet this queen? He just feels like it's a game theory disaster, maybe? I mean, you could probably get called by a 9 or pocket 10s or something still.
I mean, we check raised and got called. We should be able to be called by things. We should be comfortable betting, and if we get shoved on, we probably have to call with top pair and the queen of clubs. I think we do.
Yeah.
I think that's all fine and dandy. I don't really know why he wouldn't just bet here. I'm really surprised and confused by it, quite frankly.
Me too. I don't have a good answer for this one. I think maybe he just believes that Darwin's going to have a lot of bets and you're just never going to fold as I'm Luckbox, and that's fine and good because of the quality of our hand. Maybe he does feel like Darwin's going to have too many folds. He's seen it before when against this type of line from Darwin. I don't know. It's hard to say.
It's really hard for me to say too. Maybe Darwin is the kind of guy who's really going for some game theory positive stuff here, and so he's, continuing with a lot of his range on the flop, a lot more than one might expect, even though he's short and there's potential ICM issues here, just because he feels like he wants to have an MDF, a minimum defense frequency that's legitimate and not going to get exploited. That's the only reasons I can come up with. Then you check to let him fire away, I guess.
All right, well,
that's it.
I don't know about that one.
It's weird.
From Luckbox, but how about this one from Darwin where he checks back? He's got the nuts. We did get the check raise on the flop. Now, maybe it's just a hand like the jack of clubs that's going to check fold. It's like, oh, I took my shot and I'm going to give up as I'm Luckbox, and that's what Darwin's afraid of. That must be the type of thing he's afraid of for not betting here, right? Because you'd think he'd want to just make an easy shove happen on the river by betting the turn.
I mean, he could bet really small and sort of force the jack of clubs to call, couldn't he? I mean, he didn't have to bet. He could bet 100K. I mean, betting anything sets up a pot size shove or less on the river. Not betting makes it much, much harder to do so. This, to me, is less confusing, I guess, than the the Luckbox check, but still very confusing. It seems like so straightforward to bet small here. I mean, but I guess we could be deciding, oh, he's just giving up now, and I'm going to check to give Luckbox a chance to bluff me on the river because I'm just concerned he doesn't have anything. But, man, how about a small bet?
Yeah, I agree. It must also just be a perception of what Luckbox's continuing ranges and things he's seen before. Maybe Luckbox check raises the flop and gives up a lot. And, Darwin wants to give him a chance to catch up.
Maybe he's even seen the line. Yeah, that happens, and it goes check on the turn. Then Luckbox suddenly puts in a huge bet on the river to try and steal the pot, and he's seen that.
Maybe he's seen that, but if you want to feel seen, that's what the kids say these days. If you want to feel seen, Nitrogen Sports is the place to feel seen, Jonathan.
Yeah.
You can feel seen there. Tell them how.
Well, by playing poker, gosh darn it, and sports betting and casino games as well. But also, you are seen when you play in our monthly tournament. There's always a massive overlay. It's unbelievable. You gotta go on Nitrogen and get you some poker.
Get that.
Checks. These monotone boards play very weird, and I think Iron Luckbox will go for value on this river, but I doubt it will be an all-in sizing. You still lose, of course, to aces, no club, aces with a club, kings with a club. See, that's only a small part of Darwin's range, but he folded a lot on the flop. He does go big. I'm a little surprised at this, and Michael gonna get the bad news here shortly.
And if Darwin shoves river, Sam, is Mike priced into making the call?
I mean, I really, really don't know. This is a spot that, I mean, final tables.
What are you beating?
When you're getting such amazing odds, really, really weird spot. I mean, could Darwin do this with ace king, with the ace of clubs? Does he just shove ace jack with the ace of clubs on the flop? What would a bluff be on this river? Does pay off.
Yeah.
Well, I hope Darwin feels seen now because I seen him double up. But should I have seen him double up? Wow. Should I have be reading this BuzzFeed article 35 times that Darwin made me feel so seen by doubling up?
Those celebs are just like real people. They carry their own groceries.
This pregnant lady tweeted about being pregnant, and all pregnant women felt seen.
Yeah. It's powerful stuff.
I love it when that happens. I love feeling seen. So, okay. Did this double up have to happen?
No.
It really doesn't feel like it.
I feel very aggressively so that it did not have to happen at all. First question to me, that I have anyway, is Luckbox deciding to even bet here is I don't think it's bad to bet, but he chooses a big sizing, right? He bets 364K into 491 when the four pairs, and the four is a reasonable part of his opponent's range.
A slightly reasonable part. Based on the pre-flop ranges, you'd think maybe it's just ace-4 suited, leaving two combos.
That's fair.
It's possible.
That's fair. But when we think about what we're going to get called by, I mean, we have to be targeting exactly a 9 here, right?
Yeah, a 9 or a heroing deuce, which there's probably just ace deuce suited would probably be the only combos of a deuce, but I don't know if we're going to get called by a deuce too frequently. The rare ones that are there, clearly there are more 9s. There's also hands like pocket 10s, pocket jacks that could potentially call. I suppose that's what Addamo is targeting. I think, or Luckbox as we're calling him these days, I guess. That makes sense.
That's fine, though. He does have top pair.
Yeah, it's fine to target that. The sizing is relatively polarizing. It's not worth really diving deep into the sizing. I think it's fine. It's fine to bet, try to get value everything.
Sure.
Of course, we get the move in from Darwin. I mean, the board paired, but who cares? We're too short for that to matter.
100%.
We're moving in. As Luckbox, we're getting a great price, but is it too good of a price? Is this gas station sushi right here? It's like, it's 99 cents for 6 pieces of sushi, but is that a good thing?
I love the eel.
Is that a good idea to go with the 99-cent sushi here?
On a first glance, it really doesn't seem like a good idea at all. It seems like we can't beat anything, and we just bet relatively big, and our opponent has no seemingly obvious fold equity, and yet moves in anyway in a spot where he absolutely doesn't have to, and we can have a big hand. We can have a full house. We can have trip fours. Right, we have a lot more fours than he does because we defended the big blind.
That's the big one. We have a ton of trip fours in our range as played.
I think that's what Darwin is targeting is a 4 here, right? He's like, gosh, have a 4 one time, baby.
Yeah. I mean, it's maybe less likely because of the check raise on the flop, but at these stack depths, it might just be kind of a protection play.
Yeah, with 3 clubs out there, it's not impossible.
Yeah. Either way, it seems like there's a lot of monsters under the bed, and it seems like they're all real. Like, actually don't let your foot hang off the bed when you sleep tonight, Luckbox, because those monsters are real. They seem to make sense. Like, there's a lot of scary hands. Like, maybe a 4 is the worst hand that Darwin can show up with.
Yeah.
And like I said, maybe there's only 2 combos of that. But we have to really be pretty sure that he doesn't have hands like queens full or other full houses that could have gotten here this way, or clubs that I know checking the turn is a bit weird, but it's also weird to have a bluff that checked the turn. Like if you had just the lone ace of clubs, wouldn't you either 3-bet the flop or bet the turn when given the opportunity?
I would. I mean, it's really hard to come up with any bluffs at all that take this line, as you're saying, and I think that's got to weigh really heavily. We have to come. I mean, a bluff is a hand that doesn't 3-bet the flop, but chooses to call the flop.
Yeah.
Then checks back the turn when given the green light. Seems like already bluffs are usually not going to play those 2 streets like that, and then shoves the river after we make a big bet. That just seems crazy.
I mean, we end up with like the upside down world bluffs of like turning a 9 into a bluff or turning a deuce into a bluff,
right?
Which just feels really rare. Like, why would you ever need to turn a 9 into a bluff against the line that Luckbox took? It's either a call or a fold most of the time. Now, maybe we're playing 4D chess, like Jean-Luc Picard over here, but I don't think that's the case here. I don't think many players are going to turn a 9 into a bluff. I don't know what Luckbox is hoping that is going to show up in his opponent's hand here that makes this call a good thing.
Here's the thing that we don't know, though. We don't know much about Darwin,
yes.
right? We do know that Luckbox is Michael Addamo, one of the best players in the world. So maybe Addamo knows a lot about Darwin. Maybe they have a lot of history. And perhaps this is actually a very reasonable line against Darwin because Darwin is a crazy mofo, right? Like, he is the 2-time Swedish, we think, player of the year, which
Swedish
means
player of the world.
which means he's probably hyper aggressive, at least in the right points and times. Or it doesn't have to be that, of course. A lot of these guys aren't so hyper aggressive, but he might be very aggressive and he might be a little bit insane. And only against a guy who's a little bit insane can you even consider making this call. I think
maybe that's the case because clearly Luckbox is one of the best players in the world. He does make this decision. We wouldn't have made it in a vacuum, but maybe there's some other stuff going on.
Maybe it's just a range thing. Maybe he just struggles to come up with that many better hands he has here. That he plays this way, that he takes this line with Addamo, I'm talking about Luckbox, where he's like, I would have bet the turn with all the stronger hands, and I never have a 4 because I wouldn't have check raised it.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I just have queens.
And he blocks queens full. He blocks the queen of clubs, which is important.
Helps a little.
Those help. I don't know if it's enough.
Doesn't feel like enough.
He loses this pot, but you know what? The good thing for Luckbox is that I bet at this point he probably feels pretty seen. Probably somebody tweeted something that was like, I love being Australian and being named Michael Addamo. And he's like, that's just like me. I feel seen.
To be known.
Yeah.
That's all anyone wants. So some weirdness happened in this hand, both on the turn and the river mostly. The flop play makes a lot more sense to us anyway. We don't really get the checks on the turn. We certainly don't get how Addamo, Luckbox, can really call this river shove. We are confused. People, do you have any thoughts? Do you agree with us that these don't seem like optimal plays? This is one of the best players in the world, so he probably knows more than we do, but it doesn't make sense to us. Do you think you have some explanations as to why these things are happening? Or do you think, we don't like it either? Let us know in the comments.
What you will like is our podcast. It's the Breakdown Poker Podcast presented by the Poker Guys. The word poker is in there twice. That means it's at least 40% poker, the podcast is. It's around there these days. It's a great podcast. You should check it out. Get it wherever you get your podcasts.